What's up, bro? Welcome to a new episode of the Brandon Janeau Show. As you already know, I am Brandon Janeau. Sorry about that. As you already know, I am Brandon Janeau. Like always, YouTube channel Brandon Janeau Show. Go subscribe, go comment, go view the videos, man. I truly appreciate all the new subscribers for this year, going into next year. Appreciate all of you guys. I truly, truly do. Shout out to all the subscribers on TikTok or Instagram as well. Brandon Janeau Show on both of those platforms. Also, Facebook, The Brandon Janeau Show. Yes, it's The Brandon Janeau Show on Facebook. I couldn't change it. And also on and clearly on all podcast platforms. Brandon Janeau Show. You do not have to space it. Well, some of them you might have to space, but for the most part, it should just be together. If you have to space it, it's Brandon Janeau Show. And I hope you guys enjoy the this episode, man. And let's get into it. So I've been debating how or if uh, I was gonna close season 6, particularly how I was gonna close season 6. Um, and this is one of those episodes, man, where I want to just you get to the end of it, you get to the end of the road with the season, and you kind of just like look back at it, and I feel like I haven't really done a lot of reflecting this season, where a lot of my seasons are reflective. You know, they're very like, where am I now in my life, and and it's pretty interesting because I haven't done that. I've maybe done 2 or 3 episodes of that, maybe this season. So when I sit here and say, you know, my theme of the season was Brandon versus Jeremiah versus Janeau. That was the theme of this season. Going into this season, and now that this season is kind of coming to an end, I should say. Um, what do I now think of this theme that I named it, Brandon versus Jeremiah versus Janeau? I think the first episode of this season, I literally said, um, at the end of this season, I want to know if Janeau uh, will actually, you know, come to farm, pretty much. I see some glimpses of it, but it still has a lot of things in it that I have to fix about myself, and I think that's kind of how this season has been, where a season can't change, me. I mean, I started this season what maybe September, October, September, yeah, around September, um, around September, um, yeah, I started this season. Um, and then since September to now, going into January, um, I I can't tell you if I really have changed since then. I can't even personally. Oh man, I can't even personally tell you if I have changed. Um, what I will say is what has happened is I've gotten, what's the word? I've gotten more um better at my podcast. I can't say if I changed as a person, but I can tell I changed when it comes to this podcast. Now, and you probably say, how is that possible? Right? Um, so let me take you back to the end of last year, pretty much. Um, I did a top 10 list of maybe it's 2021's artists, albums, I think I can remember. And I remember doing it, and I did it with pretty much the original people I did it with. My first ever top 10 list. And that night, I got really emotional, because at the end of that list, I realized like, I created something that is a staple on my podcast. Is a staple now. It's something that other people could try to do it, but it's and they have. A lot of people have tried and created it, and that's okay. That's great. But for me, it feels like when I do it, you can tell that it's real. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to say like other people list when they do the shit isn't real. No, I'm just saying when you come on my podcast to do that list, I sit back and let you create it because at the end of the day, I just throw names out. And if you ever seen the list, if you ever been a part of it, you know what I mean. I just throw names out, and it's like Uno. I just wait for somebody to just throw the card down and say, "Okay, let's go." Like it's fun, it's enjoyable, man. And and at the end of that list, I literally broke kind of down a little bit because it was that. It was like knowing that I created something, but I created with people that I truly respected and loved in this podcast world, and to create that with them, because I say yes, Brandon Show, but it's the family, man. We create that list. We come up with that list. I don't jump in and say shit until I have to. Like, hey, okay, let's get the vote in. Let's see what's really going on. Like a MC probably should. And to do that list with them is it's an honor and a privilege that I still get them to come and do that shit. I have no idea how. I've I think they I think they love the torture, as my brother DC would say. And I think for this season, I kind of had to not rely on that, and it sucked at the beginning, but at the same time, that's my family, man. I get it. You got life. Life is back in motion. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it was in 2021 where a lot of people didn't probably know if they were going back to work anytime soon. Some people had to even work from home. You know what I'm saying? They still had to work from home. Like it was a lot of things going on in 2021 that isn't happening in 2022. So I get it. Life happens. So I 100% understand that. So where does that leave this podcast? I had to get back to finding my love and my passion for this podcast. I had to because if I didn't, then this podcast would fall to the wayside. And I feel like even in my starting to get back into a rhythm of it, I had to find what I loved again. I get on here a lot and I say, when I started this podcast, I always wanted to talk about music. I wanted to talk about sports. I wanted to talk about some current events, but it all kind of goes back to me without inadvertently talking about myself. Excuse me. But that's kind of what I've done. That's kind of what I've done, and it's what I've created the last couple of years. And this season forced me to actually get back to normal. And I hate saying normal because what the fuck is normal? But it started back to where I was before I started creating, you know, or I won't say creating, but pretty much relying on my family to do these things with me. And I had to kind of get back to it. And that's when, Life and Times of Music, which was created more so in season five, and Wrestling Life was created more so in season five. But season six, it really became more. And I got a chance to do more as I've created it. But to sit here and tell y'all that this season has somehow, some way unlocked a person, because here's the thing. Last night I had this whole podcast episode planned out in my head. I knew I was going to talk about it. I knew how I was going to say it. I was like, I'm going to say it like this. But when I now look at this podcast and I think about it more and more, is that this is just a podcast, man. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed and very fortunate that I get to do what I do. What season six has taught me about myself is that it's okay to walk the path alone. It's okay. You're not gonna sit here and have everybody 100% on the same wavelength as you. That's just not possible. Before when I started season six, hell, I was still, doing, or even when I started this year, going into the entire year, right? I started this year doing dark therapy sessions with my brother Arce and doing Jack's Wild, my brother Juan. You know what I'm saying? And I was also on another show, Smoking Reviews, with my brother Courtney. All of us have done, and things have happened in life that I'm not doing smoking reviews and I'm not doing dark therapy session. Life hits people, and I have to deal with it the way I have to deal with it. I still do Jack's Wild. You know what I'm saying? So I still get a chance to do sports, and that's a very vital thing for me. And I look into the way this year started for me, and particularly why I wanted this season to be more of an outlier of who I am as a person. And it didn't come to fruition, man. It didn't. I said at the end of last season, when I did season five, I was like, deep dive season, right? I think I said deep dive season. And what happened was, when I did deep dive season, right? Um, I said at the end of that season, I said I failed what I was trying to accomplish. This season, I didn't fail. I just didn't even try to accomplish what I set out to do. What I accomplished is that I can do things again on my own and have something to be proud of that isn't relying on people. It's relying on me. And for the first time in a long time, the Brandon Janeau show feels like the Brandon Janeau show again. And I love my family. And my family will always have a place in this on my show, regardless, man. But I had to get back to finding a reason for loving this again without people. And I think that's the thing. When I started doing all these other shows and all these other series of the Brandon Janeau show this season, I saw YouTube blow up. I got crazy responses on YouTube. I got over 3,000 views for clips and vids, and it's crazy. I got an additional like 20 people that have subscribed in just the last couple months to my YouTube channel. Oh my God, I've done a lot, but even in that sense, you look at what that is, and then you come into what I look at this season has been in life for me. It's getting back to holding this shit again tight and understanding that sometimes you have to let it go and help and put people on and help, not put people on. I hate saying that shit, but you have to do shit with people, and then sometimes you got to keep it to the vest. I've had people hit me up a bunch of times like, let's do something, and I'm like, and of course it's the end of the year, so I'm already kind of like, I don't really want to be bothered, but it's also because I feel like I don't know how people operate nowadays. And I can see your shit from a distance, but I don't know how to really deal with it when I get on there. And I've had a lot of great chances to be on a lot of people's shit recently, and it's just like some people are still the same. They haven't really grown out of the same tactics that they have used for years in this shit that I've known them. It's just like, I don't know, because as much as this is what I've always felt like, as much as we try to evolve and try to grow, there's still tendencies of who we are. That's a tendency. That's still who we are. Even though you say you could grow out of it, nah, I don't really know if you can because you're comfortable in that situation. You're comfortable in who you already have been, and that's the thing. I don't try to fight who I am. I know who I am. I know what I'm very nonchalant when it comes to certain shit. I'm not really rushing to go do shit with people like I usually would. I'm very, very procrastination. I don't really feel like dealing with it. I've tried so hard to get out that shell, even with this podcast. I've tried, but that's who I am, man. Like, if I don't have to rush and go do shit, I'm not rushing to go do shit. I've said this numerous times. When I started doing this podcast and I first got people to really pay attention to me and I started working with certain people, it was awesome. It was great. But then you kind of get out of that. And then you get back into what you know, and that is, okay, I got certain people that I will always support and work with no matter what because I know they won't do anything crazy. They want, they ex- they love that. And there's certain people that you just, I'm good on. Like, it's not that I don't want to ever work with you, but I'm just good on it. Like, I'm good on whatever the narrative you're trying to create still. I'm good on it. I already know what it looks like. I'm good. And I think that that's why I look at this world, and I'm like I said in this podcast world, you gotta know what you particularly would deal with, and that's like in life. You gotta know what you would deal with. If you have been around or done things with certain people, and you just know that ain't how I move. If you done it a couple times, and you already know that ain't how I move. Then don't move that way. It's very simple. Don't move that way. And I think that's kind of how I look at this, and I'm very in that mindset of I don't want to move like a lot of people move. I just don't. And I would thought season six would have made me better at that and kind of, but even in that sense, I don't want to be disrespectful to certain people because, I still got a lot of respect and love for you, but I don't want to work with certain people anymore. I just don't. If it's not the people that I truly deem uncomplicated, then I don't see the point of doing anything with you. And that's my whole thought process towards it. It's just I don't see the point of doing anything with people because sometimes, and like I've said this numerous times, people that I've been in the podcast world with and I've worked with before in the past, they are still the same. They still got those shots at people on social media and shit. It's just like I'm cool on that shit. I don't want to get into that. I've done that once and I was like, never doing that shit again because it's like, what's it all for? We all are trying to get to a particular point. Just because somebody makes the same content as you doesn't mean it's the same content as you. Nobody can spin it like you can. Nobody can say it like you can. Nobody can push it like you can. And that's the thing. I'm good on it. Season six, Brandon versus Jeremiah versus Janeau, podcast wise, has helped me. But personally, again, it hasn't. It hasn't really changed who I am. I thought it would break me out of my shell, but it hasn't. It like I said, I still see glimpses of what Janeau is, but it is Jeremiah is not. Jeremiah is more tamed. Brandon is still more afraid of what he could accomplish. So all of it's still the same. Nothing's changed personally. I would say this: life is crazy, man. And I said this on an episode a couple of weeks ago. Seeing my sister have a seizure in front of me. You know, you don't even you see my sister have a seizure, and you know you don't know how all this shit works in life. You just don't. You don't, man. And like I said, people vary to who they are as people. I'm trying to be better when it comes to a lot of things in life. One thing I know I have to get better at, particularly, is giving myself leeway not to express myself, but tell myself that it's growth, regardless if it's good or bad. It's growth, and it's worth it. Sometimes we out the throw shit out the window because to us it wasn't positive, so it's not worth it. No, it was worth it. It's worth it. Life is worth it. Everything that you go through in life, if you put yourself in that position, it's worth it because good or bad, you knew what it was supposed to be. And I think that's how it goes sometimes in life. Season six, all in all, taught me one thing, and that is that I can still get on here and go. I can do shit on my own. I don't need help in certain aspects of this shit. And at the end of the day, that's all you need. You just need that. You need that. You need that moment. And I think that's the key to all of it. I still have to get better with the concept of who is Brandon? What does Jeremiah really bring to the table? And can Janeau finally be something? But at the end of the day, those are all three. That's me. That's me. That's who I am. And I can't act like that's not me. Maybe season seven I'll figure it out. Maybe. But until then, I am Brandon Janeau. This is the Brandon Janeau Show. This is the end of season six. Peace.